Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Without a Paddle, Nature's Calling. So I got the DVD right here. We got a little front view for you. And then we got a little back view. So yeah, I mentioned this in my review of the original Without a Paddle. I just randomly picked this up at Disc Replay, which is like a DVD and video game resale shop in my area. It's like a chain shop. But anyways, I just randomly picked this up. I got it super cheap. It was like 50 cents. I had no idea there was a Without a Paddle sequel. So, I'm a sucker for sequels and franchises, so I'm like, what the heck? There's some random direct-to-DVD Without a Paddle sequel, and I've never seen it before. Let me check it out. So, after checking it out, to be honest, I was really not a fan. This movie, it did not do it for me. I did not think it was very good at all. And I'm not a hater of direct to DVD sequels. Like one great example is the American Pie Presents movies. They're like direct to DVD American Pie sequels. I pretty much like all of those movies. So I'm not a hater of direct to DVD sequels, but yeah, this movie was I just there was really barely anything that I really liked about it, and it felt very unnecessary, and it did really feel like a just like a cash grab sequel. It came out like 5 years later, direct to DVD. They probably just they had the name, they had the rights to a sequel, so they were like, let's just throw this out direct to DVD, make it cheap, make a quick buck. That's the vibe you get from it. But anyways, before I ramble on too long, let me get into a little plot summary. So the movie starts out with these two high school friends, Ben and Zach, and Ben has a crush on this kind of like hippie girl named Heather, and one thing, she's like kind of like an activist, and one thing leads to another, and Heather gets expelled. But when Ben and Zach grow up, Ben is like he still is always like longing for Heather. Like he still deep down like wishes he could he could like find her and have a relationship with her. So Ben is a lawyer and Zach is a nurse, and one of Zach's patients is this elderly woman, and she's on her deathbed, and she's like, can you find my granddaughter? She's been missing. I want to see her before I pass away. So Zach and Ben go on this trip to find this woman's granddaughter in the wilderness, and they're accompanied by the missing girl's stepbrother named Nigel. He's this British gentleman. So they go deep in the woods. They're trying to find this missing girl, and it turns out the missing girl is actually Ben's longtime crush, Heather, and she's living with this other girl. They're like living in this little hut, and they're just doing hippie stuff like eating strawberries and chilling. So basically, not like while after the well during the events of them of Ben and Zach, traversing through the forest and finding the missing girl, which is Heather. The one gentleman, Nigel, ditches Ben and Zach somewhat like earlier on in the movie, and he actually he teams up with these kind of like thug guys, and we find out that Nigel, he wants to stop Ben and Zach from bringing Heather to her grandmother, because then she would like inherit her grandmother's large fortune, and Nigel and the thugs, they want to take the large fortune for themselves. So that is the basic plot summary. First, I'm gonna get into some mainly dislikes, and then I'll get into some random stuff and stuff that I liked. Yeah, the main reason why I didn't like this movie is because, you know, if you look at the cover, it's kind of it's a super goofy cover, right? So, you know, you think they're gonna go in a really funny direction, but I'm telling you that there were not a lot of funny moments in the movie. A lot of the movie was just like bland and boring, and it was it wasn't like extremely serious, but it was just more of this like drama between the friends, and this whole like you know, like relationship drama. And you know, for this being like, you know, Without a Paddle had quite a few funny moments. This movie did have a couple funny moments, or moments that were like trying to be funny, but I just thought, like, based on the cover, based on the fact that this is a sequel to Without a Paddle, there would be more comedy, and I feel like there was not really that much comedy. Like, the main characters played it pretty darn straight. The Okay, so most of the comedy came from like some slapstick instances, and I do enjoy slapstick, but the slapstick in this was just it wasn't great. It didn't do it for me. Like, you have these like CGI squirrels that are attacking Ben and Zach. One of the CGI squirrels did drink one of their beers. I thought that was funny, but you just have CGI squirrels attacking Ben and Zach. Like, that's supposed to be funny. To me, that wasn't really funny. That was kind of like too silly, too goofy. I was like, what's going on? And then there's this whole instance where, you know, Ben is trying to profess his love, or, you know, tell Heather about his like feelings, and then there's like this CGI hummingbird that just like keeps getting in his face. I mean, I don't know what's up with that. Like, I don't like that. It was supposed to be funny, but I mean, once again, I don't think that was really funny. Does it? I mean, maybe some people are into CGI hummingbirds, cock blocking individuals, but me personally, that's not my sense of humor. And then there's this one instance where they like accidentally like keep stepping on this board, and Ben and Zach like hit each other in the nuts. Once again, like, I didn't really think that was that funny. It was like, you know, slapstick, I think it's funny sometimes, but it was just like, I don't know. It was like bottom of the barrel, like super simple stuff that we've already seen a trillion times. You know, like there was no creativity, and yeah, like none of the really like most of the comedy came from this like slapstick stuff and CGI, like interactions with CGI animals. But the dialogue wasn't that funny, and there weren't a lot of funny situations other than the slapstick stuff, which was supposed to be funny, but I didn't think it was funny. But there was like one instance of dialogue that I thought was funny, where the friends Ben and Zach they're like inside the little hut, and they're watching the girls are like taking a bath, or they're in a hot tub or something. It's probably not a hot tub because they're just in a hut, but anyways, they're taking a bath, and the girls are naked, and the guys are inside like peeking out looking at them. And then they like, when the girls are, you know, walking in, the guys try to sit in just a couple chairs and act natural, and the girls are like, "Did you get wood? Like, did you get wood for the fire?" And they're like, "What? Like, no, no, no. What are you talking about? Did we get wood?" Or I forgot exactly what they said, or maybe they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, we got wood," but they're referencing that they got boners, so they got erections. So I thought that was kind of funny, and it was like, there was actually some funny dialogue, so I enjoyed that sequence. And then moving on to the story, I thought the story was okay. It was pretty darn similar to the original Without a Paddle, but they did change enough, so I thought the story was fine. Um, and to me, the villains, they were kind of lame, and they just like came out of nowhere. Like in the first movie, like I understood why the villains wanted to pursue the main characters, because the main characters burned all their weed, so there was like a reason. Like I mean, yeah, I kind of understood why the villains in this were pursuing these guys, because they wanted to get that money for themselves, but you know I didn't really understand like these two thugs connection with Nigel. Like I don't know. I thought it would have just made more sense if Nigel was the villain, because he was kind of, he was the stepbrother. He was entitled to the money. Like, I didn't know why they had to include these other two, like, two-bit thugs. I thought if Nigel was just the villain, it would have made more sense. But, yeah, something else that didn't make sense is, like, Nigel was, he was like a villain, and he was trying to stop Ben and Zach from bringing Heather to the grandmother, but then like randomly in the third act, he just turns on the other two villains, and then he's like all cool with everyone, and everyone just forgets that like he was trying to F them over the whole movie. So I thought it would have made more sense if you didn't have the three villains, if you just had Nigel as the one main villain, because he had more of a motive, and then it would have made sense if he was just consistently the villain. Like this whole thing where it's like he's the villain, but now he's buddies with everyone again. Like it didn't gel with me. So that was like another problem that I had. I just wrote some stuff about like some drinking stuff, because I like sipping some drinks, so I had to include this. But something that I liked is they go to this bar. It's like this local bar with all these rednecks, and Ben, he's like, can I just get a coffee? And then they just give him a beer. They're like, here you go, one coffee. I thought that was pretty funny. Zach brings like two enormous kegs, and he doesn't bring any food, and Ben's like, you brought two kegs, why didn't you bring any food? And I don't know, I just like where his head's at. The man's got priorities. Like, if you're going on a expedition in the wilderness, like you gotta have beer. Like, yeah, you gotta eat eventually, but I mean, you'll find some bears or something. You gotta prioritize the kegs. Like, you only have so much. You can only bring so much. So I like where his head was at, that he prioritized bringing two kegs. Like, Ben's like, why do you need two kegs? He's like, what if we drink the first one? I'm like, that's great thinking. I'm like, Zach, I like you. You're my type of guy. We could hang out. We could party. Yeah, Zach was mad cool. But and then at one point they have like a leak in their raft, and they have to throw the keg, and Zach is just so upset. He's like, I don't recall exactly how he acted, but he's like, no, you can't throw the beer. No, what are you doing? But like they had to do what they had to do to survive. But it was like a sad moment. It was like when Tom Hanks had to part with Wilson. Like, Zach had to part with this keg of beer, and it was one of the most emotional moments in the movie. I got a little teary-eyed. I got a little choked up when Zach had to part with that keg. Like, I gotta take a moment. Actually, it messed me up. It messed me up. But I don't want to think about it. I need to get on to something positive because I was messed up. But anyways, I had to bring up all the drinking stuff because, I like sipping some drinks. So had to bring it up. Another random point is, Ben. He's big lawyer man. He's big boss man. So he's got to bring his little Bluetooth, wireless headset on the trip. And like throughout the movie, he's taking phone calls deep in the forest. Homeboy's like, miles and miles and miles deep in the forest, and he's getting reception. So throughout the movie, I was just, kind of making like a weird face, I was like curious. I was like, how would he get? Do they have cell phone towers there? Like, in in real life, all right, you would never get reception that deep in the forest, and homeboy is just on the Bluetooth, like getting perfect reception. He can clearly hear whoever else is on the line. I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, not that stuff needs to make sense in a movie with CGI squirrels drinking beers, but I don't know. That was just something I was thinking about. And then, I mentioned like a couple positive things, but here's another positive thing. I thought, there was a lot of great locations in this. Even though this was, definitely a lower budget movie, all of the wilderness stuff looked beautiful. Whatever, if they did film all the forest stuff on location, whatever forest they filmed in, it was just so green. I don't know if that's how the forest really looked, or if it was something with the color grading, but like all the greens in this movie were so vibrant. It had like a beautiful look to it. And then another thing that I liked was I thought the river scenes when they're like in their little raft. I thought the river scenes were really intense and action packed and well done. So it's not easy stuff to film. I was watching a behind the scenes for the first Without a Paddle, and Matthew Lillard was saying that they had to do like 3 weeks of raft training before they even filmed. So, of course they have like stunt guys for the overhead shots, and the actors are just in the close-ups. But still, like when I was watching this, all the stuff on the river and these rapids was super intense, and it's not, like I said earlier, it's not easy to film, and I thought it was action packed, and it looked really good. All the overhead shots looked really good. So all the stuff with the rapids and the river, I really liked that, and I thought that was well done and filmed really well. So gotta end on a positive. I don't want to totally, tear movies apart, but anyways, that was the last point I had. So I'm gonna get into my recommendation. I think, like I said, I don't, I went into this movie with an open mind. I didn't have high expectations, but it was just a pointless sequel. It was bland. It was boring. There wasn't that much fun to be had. Like, they could have went in a fun, silly, crazy direction, because it's direct to DVD. Who cares? Like, they could have went super silly, super funny with it, but it wasn't that funny. It was like, kind of very similar to the original, but with just like none of the charm. So, in terms of a recommendation, I would not recommend this. I would say, just skip just skip this movie. Just stick to the original, Without a Paddle. This is not necessary for you to watch. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. You don't need to watch this movie. So, yeah, don't check this out. Don't watch it. Just watch the original without a paddle and you'll be all good in the hood. So that has been my review of Without a Paddle, Nature's Calling. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.